Hello, Slashaholics. Welcome to the first episode of a special podcast series. No set schedule on these, just every now and then, whenever Roger feels like talking with me. Um, I thought it would
That sums it up.
right. The new show is called Scratching the Niche. What we're going to do on this podcast is we're going to talk about lesser known horror franchises and even lesser known horror standalone films. Eventually, I'd like to talk about Basket Case. That's a hell of a niche horror movie there.
That's a good one.
You know, and They Live is another good one. Or The Island of the Alive or whatever. Did you ever see those movies?
Oh, I have not, but of course,
That's-
I know about them, you know.
Okay, just stuff like that. That's what we're going to be doing. I think we're going to have a Hitcher episode.
Oh, yeah.
But today, I thought it'd be appropriate after our drinking games for us to discuss the entire Leprechaun series. I'm going to rank my favorite Leprechaun movies at the end of the podcast before we end it. And Roger's going to be putting out, you've probably already seen it by this point, his ranking.
And if not, go check it out.
Go check it out. If you haven't
What are you
seen
doing?
there'll be a link to Roger's channel, of course, in the description.
Appreciate it.
SlasherPepper is my favorite channel to collaborate with, and I want to see this channel surpass mine because he does some amazing stuff over there.
Appreciate it, man.
But yeah, so the first thing I got to say is my favorite Leprechaun movie has got to be Leprechaun Origins. Now the line's out of the way.
Tell me another joke.
Well, I mean that's the prequel to the whole series, right? It's the origins, even though it takes place years after.
Yeah, it's so interesting. So different.
What sucks is we're actually going to have to talk about that movie in a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
But tell me about your history with Leprechaun before I got you to watch him for the Dr. Pepper drinking games.
So my own Leprechaun Origins.
Exactly. Did you know anything about him before we started watching him?
Well, of course I knew about him because, Leprechaun is an icon in horror culture. I saw like pictures from the movies and the Blu-rays and maybe like props and stuff. And, it's one of those series that always had been in the back of my mind, like, oh, I gotta watch this sometime. But I just never got around to seeing it,
So you never even saw like part of the movie or anything, right?
No, actually, not even scenes, indeed. No,
So
that's
yeah,
crazy.
his first impressions whenever we did the drinking games were literal first impressions.
Yeah, yeah.
Nothing, no bogus stuff there.
Well,
So yeah,
later on I edited the little trailer thing, and I kind of watched portions of the trailer, but I usually skipped ahead to the title card, which was the only part I wanted to use in the video anyway. So,
well, trailers don't give away too much. Well, they didn't used to. Nowadays, they give away the whole movie.
oh yeah,
But back then, it wasn't so bad. I know you weren't alive back then, but I used to love getting VHS tapes, like renting a
oh
tape
yeah,
and
oh
watching
yeah.
upcoming attractions, because they didn't give the whole movie away. They just teased it enough to get you excited for it. And I was always a fan of cheesy horror movies like Carnosaur and Leprechaun and stuff. But yeah, let's start with Leprechaun, the original movie from 1993. It had a young Jennifer Aniston starring in it. And this is where we get introduced to Warwick Davis as the Leprechaun. And he was born for this role, man, in my opinion.
Yeah, I would say so as well.
Uh,
His size was definitely a biological thing.
I wasn't going there. He had the perfect demeanor. I wasn't even thinking.
Yeah.
I just mean he was born because he's born for it because he's short. But no, he played the character like Robert Englund was born to play Freddy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like the acting and the performance-wise.
Because I got to say, the guy that replaced Warwick in Returns was not bad, but he wasn't Warwick. Warwick was Leprechaun. But this first movie is the only one in the series that tries to be, for the most part, kind of serious. It tried to be a real scary movie. I know Origins tried that, but that's in its own little thing. I like the backstory that we got, that this old man had brought over the leprechaun in a crate. He had his gold. People's honking outside.
Oh, that happened in another that happened in one of the
Okay.
Dr. Pepper drinking games as well.
But yeah, so and the movie starts, we get a glimpse of the leprechaun using his powers, causes the guy to have a stroke. And apparently, this is what got me when we watched this. That four-leaf clover that he had put on top of the crate to trap the leprechaun in, that clover stayed on there for like 20 years, man, and never until Jennifer Aniston's family moved into that house.
Really? It was there?
Yeah, it was still on top. That whenever they go down in the basement to look at stuff, they're like dusting stuff off, and like they knocked the four-leaf clover off the top.
Let me out. Please, I don't like it in here. Please.
Hello? Hello?
It would have been brittle and like broken apart and blown away years ago.
Right. Wow, that's. I mean, these are movies about leprechauns killing people, so how
Yeah.
much do you really care about realism? But that is kind of odd.
But let's talk the leprechaun's powers, because in the first movie, it's not as crazy as it gets later. Because like you couldn't even make a list of all of his powers if you wanted to.
Man, that's one of the parts. Like this is a really inconsistent franchise. However, the powers are just most inconsistent, I would say.
He can just, it's like, what can the leprechaun do? Just let him do whatever the hell, whatever you want to write, he can do it. You know,
Whatever power you need for the scene.
whenever he gets trapped, can he use that same teleporting power? No. When he's trapped, he doesn't think to teleport like he does every other, you know. But yeah, so what did you think of the first movie? A little longer than your first impression, you know.
Yeah.
'Cause I know you said it was kind of a boring one compared to the others.
Definitely.
But
Definitely, I
before
feel
you
like
saw
that.
the other movies, you seemed to like this one. Talk about it. Your experience with Leprechaun 1.
Oh man, I really liked it the first time I watched it. However, when I saw the other ones and you kind of compare them, I just feel like the other ones are so much more out there, and so much crazier. And I would say it it's a little boring at times. I wouldn't say it's a boring movie overall, but there are some scenes that just kind of drag. You
And
know what
they,
I mean?
yeah, and you can tell the stuff that they kind of shoehorned into it, you know, like when he's on the roller skates and he crashes through that fence. That just seems like something like after they had like filmed everything, they went and got his stunt double and said, you know what, let's be funny if we, you know, he goes through a fence on roller skates and his silhouette's left behind in the wood. You know, it just seems like something some producer made him throw in there. So there is some
Right.
slapstick. He gets pulled over on a little go-kart by a real policeman, you know, and we find out he's 600 years old, which we're going to that gets retconned in the sequel, which we'll be talking about soon. But overall, my impressions, what I've always loved about the first movie, it felt like a real scary movie. It was a good introduction to a new slasher killer for the B horror movie genre. It was entertaining. It was funny. And Warwick is like a seasoned veteran actor, and he really delivered with this character. You could tell he was having fun. You could tell the cast was having fun. I love the dynamic between I can't remember his name for the life of me now, but the dumb guy and the kid. They had a good relationship.
Ozzy.
Yeah, Ozzy. I want to say Otis for some reason, but yeah, Ozzy.
Huh. Ooh. Look at that. Ooh.
Give me it!
No.
Give me it!
Just let me look at it for a minute. Just
Give
for a
me
minute.
it.
Let me look at it for a minute. I'll give it right back to you. I promise.
Give me that!
Hey.
Guys, here's your coin. Found a bag full of them. Cool.
I told you. Uh-oh. That's what that leprechaun was talking about.
Would you stop with that stupid leprechaun stuff? We found this gold. Finders keepers. I just hope it's real.
I know how to tell if it's real. You just bite on it. I seen it in the movie. Oh my God. I swallowed that gold coin.
Ozzy was my favorite. I was glad to see him survive the movie. And all in all, it was good. Jennifer Aniston, this is where she got her start. Anybody who hasn't seen Leprechaun, yes, that's Jennifer Aniston in Leprechaun. Hard to believe, I know. All right, so next comes Leprechaun 2. And this is where some more stuff gets added and some gets taken away. In the first movie, for instance, he had this thing with polishing shoes. And they even like throw a ton of shoes out to keep him distracted because he can't handle not being able to polish every shoe he sees. And the only thing that would hurt him in the first movie is a four-leaf clover. But in the second one, we find out like iron, like a poker for a fireplace apparently can hurt him. But this is what we were talking about. He's 600 years old in the first flick, and in the second one, we get a flashback to 1,000 years ago. What did you think of them actually taking us back to when the Leprechaun, 1,000 years ago in Ireland?
Man, I liked it, but it didn't feel unnecessary either. It wasn't like it was just some sort of flashback, just because why not? It actually started the whole movie, and you're right, and it kind of gets you intrigued from those first minutes, and it's interesting to see 1,000-year time jump.
Yeah,
I've never seen that before.
In the drinking game, Roger's like, well, that's the longest time jump I've ever seen in the movie.
Right.
It literally says 1,000 years later. What always made me laugh about that flashback, Roger, was the fact that the actor playing the slave of the leprechaun and the actress playing his daughter, they look like they were the same age.
Now just one more sneeze, and you'll have your precious freedom.
God bless you, my child.
You pathetic fool! You thought you could outsmart me, the genius of Killarney! A curse be placed upon your seed, William O'Day. You may have saved your daughter, but on me next 1000th birthday, I'll stalk your fairest offspring and claim her as me bride. Happy St. Patrick's Day.
It's like, how is that his daughter? They look like they went to high school together.
Yeah. I agree on that. But what I thought you were gonna mention was the drawing from the main character and the way she actually looks in the film. And
yeah, it looks like they had a different actress like beforehand, and they recast her.
Yeah, and then the line later on in the film, what was it again? Like, oh, did you change your hair or something?
Yeah, they threw in like a little throwaway line to cover up. It's like they had an actress, so they had the art done. Then they had to recast, and it was too late to redo the art, or something in post. And so they throw in like a little line there about that. This is the movie where I started repeating the lines a lot in the drinking game. And I don't know why I did that. It's like I was wanting to emphasize it for the game or something to make sure you heard it. I don't know. But I hate when people do that, and I did that for all the movies. But this,
oh, yeah.
I did enjoy the main two characters, not the female lead, but the father figure, the con artist guy.
Oh, right.
He's trying to con. And I felt so bad whenever he died, man. He had a whole pot of gold
Yeah, man.
here in his stomach, you know? That was freaking brutal.
Get it out! Get it out of me! Oh God, Marty! Marty, no! Get it out! Get it out of me!
I can do it, but you have to let me out of the safe first. Do you wish me out of the safe?
Yes, goddammit!
Your second wish has been granted.
Get it out! Get it out!
You see, you shouldn't be so greedy.
Get it out of me! Get it out!
So, is that your wish?
Yes! Yes, yes! I wish you to get it out of me!
Very well.
Some good practical effects, though.
Yeah.
Most movies had some good practical. You're a fan of practical. What did you think of what these movies did with that?
Well, of course. I mean, the one thing I will say is pretty consistent in these movies is Leprechaun's makeup. Especially in the first 6 movies, I think, at least up until Leprechaun Back to the Hood. Because in Leprechaun Back to the Hood, they kind of changed it, but they changed it on purpose. But before that, it looks like identical, like they had the same costume or something. So yeah, that I really like. And of course, there are some crazy deaths, some that are just so cheesy, like they're bad, like the Leprechaun 3 duck.
Oh my
Kill.
God! Yes, we're gonna get to that for sure.
Yeah.
The plot for this one was kind of outrageous too. It's like the Leprechaun lore has this rule that if there's a woman and she sneezes in front of the Leprechaun 3 times, she becomes his wife or something. I don't know where this came from. I don't know. I would love to see the pitch meeting, for coming up with the script for that. What can we do with Leprechaun 2 that we didn't do with Leprechaun 1? How about we add a bunch of sneezing?
Yeah,
Well-
or someone at the pitch just sneezed and the guy was like, "That's it. There you
Genius.
go."
Get this man a raise. Can you do it 2 more times? But this did have one of my favorite kills as well, and that's the lawnmower kill, where the guy thinks he's like going into, this woman's chest and everything, but the Leprechaun's using a new power of illusion. This is a new one, where it's actually a lawnmower up on its side with dual blades, and the guy just thinks he's going in to kiss on a chest and sticks his face right in the mower blades.
The vision before you appears to be true. But a leprechaun's magic fools humans like you.
That was a brutal. I mean, we didn't get to see the whole thing, but that was brutal. Probably one of the most brutal kills in the series. But yeah, the movie also had something that stood out in our drinking games, and that is the what the fuck look on Roger's face when the movie ended.
I knew we were gonna get to this, and I have the perfect example for this. I pointed it out in my ranking as well. Like the shot of the coin, right?
It's gonna grab it or something.
Yeah. So imagine Jason Goes to Hell.
No, I know where you're going. Go for it.
Right. Do I need to say more? Like Jason's mask, and Freddy's hand just doesn't come out. It's just Jason's mask, and then
You see
that's
them
it.
kiss, and like midway through the kiss, the credits start rolling.
Right. Not even a little fade to black. No, cut to black.
I know it was so abrupt. You were like you did like Jason
I was just,
Hedgehog, you
I was
know.
just like, well, what?
That's the end of the movie. We toyed with the idea of using that as a gag in the drinking games,
Yeah,
but
man, we never got to do that.
yeah, you know, like just halfway through us saying something, you know, it just cuts to the credits.
Right, we should have done that still.
Shown like a lone can of Dr. Pepper or a bottle of Pepsi, you know, and you don't pick it up, and it just cuts to the credits. Like they're just waiting for you to grab it. But then comes the one that you seem to enjoy more than anything was part 3 at the time.
Yeah.
Because it's the perfect setting for Leprechaun.
Yeah, and
in Las
it's
Vegas.
such a unique setting for a horror movie, especially. Like, do you know any other horror movies that take place in Las Vegas?
Jason Takes Vegas? No, no.
Doesn't exist yet.
It's a good setting, and it's perfect for Leprechaun because of the greed aspect and everything. And this movie introduces something that pops up in the other ones, and that's some kind of format for you to learn about the Leprechaun lore that's just easily at your fingertips. And in this movie, it's a CD-ROM app in the pawn shop computer, and it's running the whole movie apparently, because like half the movie you see it, and they're hearing about leprechauns, then like 50 minutes later in the movie, it comes back, and they're back in the pawn shop, and the CD's telling them exactly what they need to hear at that time to combat the leprechaun. But this movie gave us our villain for the drinking game series.
Oh, yeah. I pointed out in my ranking as well, we just memed this guy in our entire series. He became a meme.
You know, I wonder if he ever got acting classes. He was just so overboard, and he was such a dick, man.
Right.
God, he was a dick. Like, his assistant's kind of getting older, and he's all like, makeup isn't going to help you. What you need is a personality transplant.
Right.
Or should I say 20 pounds ago?
I am not always going to look just like this, Pally.
No? You find a fountain of youth or something?
I've been saving my pennies, buddy boy, and one of these days I'm going to come waltzing in that door with everything packed into all the right places.
You need more than a boob job, Loretta. You need a personality transplant.
Fucking hell.
I did enjoy getting to use him for that bit on Leprechaun Origins, though. You know,
Yeah, oh yeah.
The movie in a box and set the box on fire. You do it better. Give us a Fazio.
Fire to the box.
You're in the box. I do the standard switch gag. And then I set fire to the box!
Fire to the box, yeah. But he gets a pretty cool death. You know, he gets a half-off death. The leprechaun goes to do the cut-in-half magic trick, and yeah.
Yeah,
so,
something else I remember from this movie is just that Leprechaun seems to be walking back and forth between the pawn shop and the casino so many times. Like, there are like 5 shots in there of him just walking down the streets to the pawn shop.
What was our shot for the second movie?
The Elvis. Oh, the second movie?
Yeah.
That was the lawnmower kill.
Yeah, that was okay. And the third one, it was the Elvis scene. Because the leprechaun, and this is another thing, a trope with these leprechaun movies. People don't think anything of him. It's just, yep, there's a leprechaun. It looks normal to me. Looks human. He meets an Elvis impersonator, does the Elvis dance, and then does an Elvis impersonation with the fake Elvis. And that was our shot scene.
Right. If I saw a leprechaun like Warwick in his costume walking around at a Halloween party, I would be like, holy shit. That was realistic.
St. Patty's Day.
Yeah. Even then, I would be like, holy shit, that's weird but vaguely cool, you know? But on a random day when he's walking down the street, no one gives a shit.
And did nobody call the cops whenever he ripped that guy's finger off? You know, there wasn't any other short leprechaun-looking dudes in the city. I'm sure the cops could have tracked him down.
Right.
You know, But this movie gave us some really good kills, and some
Yeah.
funny ones too. There's also a lot of confusing moments in this movie, like the sex robot thing. This guy's this guy's watching TV, and the leprechaun's standing behind the TV, like touching it and making commercials with the leprechaun in the commercial. And then he makes this naked girl come out of the TV onto the bed with the guy, and the guy starts kissing her, and then she just turns into like a robot, android thing. The leprechaun could have literally just killed this guy, but he goes through all this trouble,
Right.
and it's like a robot, and he doesn't even get to kill him with it.
Those 5 minutes, like with the commercial lady and the robot, that is like Jason X Death Moon level of randomness.
Don't you say that name. We're having fun here, but you're gonna ruin it. Also, when that guy's under, because the point of this in this movie, anybody that has one of the coins can make a wish, and it's so funny because at one point the boss guy is under the spell from somebody's wish, and he's just doing whatever this woman asked him to do. And he's like throwing himself against the side of the elevator, just like bam, and it's just not so. Then the woman, the assistant of Fazio, gets the coin, makes a wish, and the leprechaun shows up later and finds out she'd wished to be beautiful, and he's like makes a rhyme about giving her tits out to here, and he like gives her augmentation with his power, and they grow so big, her butt grows super big, her lips grow super big, until she just explodes, and it looks like a damn duck.
Your boobs are big. Your butt is small. But still you're in for quite a fall. What are you talking about? Oh, well, didn't you hear? Bigger is good, but jumbo is dear. I'll give you boobs that come out to here.
My baby. What are you doing to my baby?
Those delightful lips, they'll get you some tips. But what about these? Are they big enough to please? Ah! What are you doing? Ah! A delightful little slut. But what about your butt? You little monster! Oh my Feels like rain.
Why was that not our shot thing? That would have been better for the shot.
Man, that scene, like, was she actually supposed to look like a duck, or was that just what we made of it?
It's just what we made of it. He was just giving her big old, like plastic surgery lips that got bigger and bigger.
I mean, she did look like a fucking duck, man.
That's what it looked like. I did like his rhyme though, because he did a really funny rhyme before he did that to her.
I bet you repeated that during the game.
Probably. Just like I did the one at the pawn shop. I love that one. It's like there once was a man from DeGrasse or something who had balls made of fine brass, and in stormy weather he'd clang them together and sparks would shoot from his ass. And there's no reason for the leprechaun to tell this guy this rhyme other than to get it in the movie.
There was an old man of Madras whose balls were made of fine brass. So in stormy weather, they both clanged together and sparks flew out of his ass.
Right.
Because it's the pawn shop guy. And that guy gets fucked up in this movie, and it takes him forever to actually get killed. Like, he gets his hand cut off, damage, his foot damage, his face damage. At one point, he's got like an eye patch, missing fingers. But the one thing I really enjoyed about this one, Roger, that we did not touch on in the drinking game was the were-leprechaun of it all.
Oh, right.
The leprechaun bite. It bites the main... Oh, and this is the main character that never blinks. He's just... Every scene, he's just wide-eyed, and it's like, blink your fucking eyes, dude. I need to know you're a human being. But yeah, he gets bit, and we didn't touch on this, and he becomes a were-leprechaun. Like, he starts eating potatoes, because that's what leprechauns do, apparently. He grows...
In the third movie, they do that. They didn't do that before. That's just something they only do in the third movie. Like, in the fourth movie, that's gone.
It's kind of like an Irish cliche, or not cliche, stereotype, you know, that they
Tradition
do.
sort of thing.
And it's like Irish people don't just eat nothing but potatoes, you know.
Right.
Potatoes, a lot of potatoes. They had the potato famine over there and stuff. And anyways, he becomes a were-leprechaun. Leprechaun, but we get a cool scene because he also gets the leprechaun's powers. So he ends up having a fight with the leprechaun, and it's the only time that we really get a leprechaun battling his equal. So that was pretty cool, right? I mean, he had his own powers used against him.
I just remember during like the transformation, the were-leprechaun, and the TV commercial and sex robot thing, like my movie was lagging at that part. So every time we would just skip back and we watched like those 5 minutes like
Over and
4 or
over.
6 times.
Oh man, I'm glad after that you had them downloaded and ready to go.
Oh yeah.
Because that streaming thing just wasn't working out.
Right.
But hey, next comes one of my personal favorites that you're not gonna believe where it lands on my ranking list. Leprechaun 4. That's all it's called, right? It's just called Leprechaun 4.
No, Leprechaun 4 in space.
Shit, you just had to say that and ruin it, didn't you? This one is unique because I truly believe that this was just a generic sci-fi horror movie, that they needed another Leprechaun movie, so they just changed this character into the Leprechaun. What do you think?
Man, that makes so much sense. Especially while watching the movie, you pointed that out, and I was like, kind of, taking a good look at if you could be right about that. And man, you're so right because there are barely any rhymes.
There's no rhymes at all.
No, you're right. There are no rhymes at all. So yeah, no rhymes, no. Like what else wasn't there that was in the earlier movies?
Well, they called him an alien and they called him a bounty.
Right. That was it. Which also makes no sense if it was a screenplay because it's just one word. It was like this guy was like, no, in big Hollywood movies they don't change a single word from the screenplay, so we can't change the word alien.
Yeah, he's just keeping as an alien. They wouldn't know what a leprechaun is anyways. Or the screenwriter's like, you're not changing my script that much. If you want to make it a leprechaun movie, I can't stop you, but I'm not changing anything. This is my script. Dr. Mittenhand was the most fun character in that movie. He was so over the top. I love it when the general guy's like, it's going to be your ass. If you even got an ass.
Done. I left the papers torn up. One more thing. If I lose any more of my troops, your ass is grass. If you even got an ass.
That's where the repeating lines started, I think.
Taking a drink every time I repeat a line.
Right.
But yeah, and from behind the guy's effects, he's like only part of him that was human was like one arm, his shoulder, and his head, and it was like skin draped over like this aquarium-looking robotic body thing that rolled around like a vacuum cleaner. And from the front, it looked pretty good. Looked pretty sweet. Every time it was a behind shot, you could tell it was like a prosthetic head and stuff, and it didn't even move or anything.
Right, just stood still.
the leprechaun uses a lightsaber to kill
Or
someone.
remember one more thing. Remember, like the stars that were just so obviously little lights, like
Yeah,
on a black screen. I'm still not sure if that was actually supposed to look real, like an actual galaxy, or if that was
Hands, where he's looking out into space, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Is up, it is true, but subparagraph 4 states that I have the power to extend your contract in the event of an emergency.
It was just on that screen, little lights. And the spaceship and stuff was like PlayStation 1 graphics.
Oh man,
It was bad. It was really bad.
the
But
music was so cheesy too.
and the trailer for it, the first half of the trailer is like all serious and stuff, and then the music is like the music changes to like a romantic comedy type music, and the rest of the trailer is you know what? You got to check out Leprechaun 4 trailer. I'll put a link in the description. But yeah, halfway through it changes from like a horror movie trailer to like a romantic comedy about him and this princess. The princess, by the way, who can curse you by flashing her breast at you.
Oh man, I remember that. It was so lame.
Take a good look. And the guy's like, okay. He's like, now you're cursed for death. He's like, well, kill me more. It's like, God, has this dude never seen boobs or something?
Right.
But I enjoyed this movie because it is fun. It is not. It is not boring. It is so bad. It's fun. Miguel.
Or the
Nunez,
ending.
Huh? Oh yeah, the ending with the Miguel Nunez Jr., who did a lot of movies in the 80s and 90s. Like he was in Friday the 13th, Part 5, The New Beginning. You remember the Hey Baby, Ooh Baby?
Oh yeah.
That was him. He was in Carnosaur. He was in a Carnosaur movie. He was just in so many movies back then, and he
also in
survived.
Return of the Living Dead.
Yeah, he was in Return of the Living Dead. I was really surprised that his character survives in Leprechaun in Space because they broke that trope. Usually it's one guy or one girl or one guy and one girl. But in Leprechaun in Space, the guy lives, the girl lives, and the black guy lives. And usually in that time period, they killed them. It was like a trope. You didn't have more than one or two people survive. And I was actually happy that he made it because I really enjoyed his character in the movie.
Yeah, and it just debunks the bullshit theory that all these people have. Like the black guy always dies first.
I know,
which,
and
I don't know where that came from because that's bullshit.
I've only seen a few where they die first. It's like
Right.
Everybody dies in horror movies. Usually it's just a guy or a girl that survive. But yeah, the Leprechaun goes through a lot of stuff in this movie. He talks to himself a lot. Like half the movie is him just talking about his master plan to himself. And end of the movie's pretty cool. The Leprechaun ends up trying to kill Mittenhand, but he doesn't know how to kill him because he's like half machine or whatever, 3/4 machine. So he makes this cocktail. It's like blood from the princess, which regenerates stuff, a scorpion and a spider, and he puts them all in there and like blends it and like injects the guy with it. And this is another thing that makes me think this wasn't a Leprechaun movie. The way the scientist turns into Minton Spider. Remember how
right.
the webs and everything? So yeah, at the end of the movie, the Leprechaun grows really huge. Gets
A
sent out.
pixelated giant leprechaun.
Pixelated, bad. It's like if you're using paint and you instead of like resizing the picture by putting in the perimeters, you just like drag it. You select all, just drag it. It is so pixelated. It's really underwhelming too because he like reaches for the guy and he's like nowhere close to grabbing him, but the guy still ducks and rolls.
Yeah, he doesn't really do anything.
And then he just gets sucked out of the spaceship, breaks into a bunch of pieces, and flips off the camera as the credits roll. And that's it. That's Leprechaun in Space for you.
Yeah. There was one more thing I wanted to point out, but I forgot. I forgot what it was.
They have to do with the princess. Oh, we need to talk about the sergeant guy a little bit. The guy with the metal thing. Because he ends up with the damn android at the end. What the fuck? Like, and the guy that gave birth to the leprechaun. In the beginning, he pees on the leprechaun's corpse. Because in the beginning of the movie, the leprechaun jumps on a grenade to save the princess. And the guy pees on him, and he gets electrocuted as he's peeing. And then later, when he gets a boner making out with this girl, making out with this woman on the ship, the leprechaun literally comes out of his Johnson and is reborn that way. And, the leprechaun's like, you should have wore a prophylactic.
A lesson to you, lad. Always wear a prophylactic.
It's like, oh, that's funny. But yeah, that was pretty gruesome.
And whenever he's like talking to himself about his master plan, that kind of reminds you of like Freddy Krueger saying Freddy versus Jason when he's like, when he tries to kill somebody, but it just goes through them, and he's like, oh, I don't have my full powers yet, and he just says it to nobody.
Who are you talking to, Freddy? I'd love a horror movie to do that sometime, and like the camera pans out, and there's like a documentary crew following them, and that's who they're talking to the whole time. Right. They're filming like a documentary on the side. Yeah. Was that the thing that you wanted to point out?
Yeah, that was it.
Okay. Because the only thing I was going to say is the sergeant character, I liked him. The guy with half his head was metal. He gets under the leprechaun's power at one point and dresses up in drag. And he does some really funny acting when he's trying to fight it, He's like, this is so violent, Kill, kill, kill! Oh, my God. Like,
right.
He's very entertaining. The movie is bad. It's good cheese. It's fun cheese, but it's really bad. But I'm telling you, you will be entertained if you like bad, cheesy movies, because it is fun. It's kind of like how Jason X, a lot of people don't like it, but it's a good movie. It doesn't take itself seriously. It's poking fun at itself, and it's at the core of Jason X. It's just like any other Friday the 13th film. They're just not in the woods at a camp. They're in space in a spaceship in the middle of space.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense because they're just doing things that you're supposed to do in space, plus making out and that sort of stuff that was at a campfires. And in the camps, they're doing what you're supposed to be doing in camps, So
it's about teenagers being alone with very little to no adult supervision, right. And that's what Jason X is. But anyways, Leprechaun in Space is a fun movie. It's not my favorite in the series, but it is not my least favorite or even close to the bottom. Now we're going to talk about my favorite. So, Leprechaun in the Hood. If anybody's wondering what Roger's laughing about, we had to do an edit there, and instead of counting to 10 like this, I was just
flipping me off.
But yeah, Leprechaun in the Hood, man. This is the movie that got me into the Leprechaun movies. I saw this one first, and then went back and watched the other ones. And I think it is a great fucking movie. You would think by the title it would be worse than Leprechaun in Space. But the characters are fun. The villain, besides the Leprechaun, is fun. He's played by Ice-T, from Law and Order. And he's also a famous rapper, of course.
And body count.
High body count, yeah.
Oh, no, he is in Body Count, the band.
But yeah, this movie has some good kills, has some funny scenes, and it even has like a Scooby-Doo-ish scene that I like. We get to see that the Leprechaun has a couple new powers. He can possess people by just touching them between their eyes, and he makes them into zombie fly girls. He can threw his hand out and like burst a hole in their chest. We get to meet Roger's girlfriend, Miss Fontaine, in this movie. Anyways, what did you think what did you think of Leprechaun in the Hood, Roger?
Man, I hate it like a little more because of Miss Fontaine, and you joking about that.
Sorry,
because
you're the one that in the scene. Roger's all like, when we meet Miss Fontaine in the movie during the drinking game, Roger was tired, so he was all like, it looked like he was like really into. So I made a joke. Miss Fontaine is a drag. She is a man transforming into a woman waiting to get the surgery, and I was just giving him a hard time because of the way he was staring at the screen, and this kind of became a thing now. So he gives me shit all the time, so I give him shit.
It's Sunday, man. I got home like 5 a.m. the day before.
But the way she dies, it's like it's choked by the leprechaun, and the people walk in seeing it happen, but they're under the blankets. So when I first saw that, I was like, is the leprechaun having... Damn, leprechaun! But he was just murdering.
Is the leprechaun gay?
Maybe he's just pansexual, you know?
Oh, right, it's pansexual. Right.
Maybe just he's fine with it.
Who knows?
But yeah, this movie is not bad. It's really fun. It's my favorite personally. Kind of giving away my rankings here a little bit. Like I said, you actually feel bad when a couple of the characters die, especially Stray Bullet, which is the name of one of the characters, because he is forced to kill himself. And that was a pretty dark scene, man, just to see his friends, you know. No! There's not a whole lot added to the lore in this movie other than the flutes. That was pretty cool.
That was weird too. That was like so random.
Yeah, but there's something we didn't touch on when we talked about part 3, and that was the amulet. When we first meet the leprechaun in part 3, he's in a pawn shop as a statue with like this necklace around him.
Oh, right.
When they take the necklace off, that's how he comes back to life. And they drop that for part 4. But in part 5, they bring that back. So the way he's finally defeated, get this, 2 of the main characters dress in drag because the zombie has been hanging out at this club upstairs, turning women into zombie fly girls. I don't know what the hell that is. They got like green eyes, and he's like banging women and smoking pot. That's all he's doing. He smokes a lot of pot in this movie. And so the main characters get a Leprechauns for Dummies book and find out about clovers, 4-leaf clovers. So they roll up joints. This guy has been buying weed and bitching the whole movie because he keeps finding clovers in his weed. So he takes his weed, uses it, rolls it up a joint, and they go there dressed in drag. And we get another memorable line from the leprechaun, you know, come on over here, my wee little lass, and I'll tap that ass, you know. He smokes the pot. It doesn't kill him, but it weakens him. Big standoff happens. In the end, the amulet gets put back on him, and that's how he's defeated. This is one I don't want to give too much away talking about, because if you're a fan of horror, if you have not seen Leprechaun in the Hood, even if you've not seen any of the other Leprechaun movies, I don't want to spoil all of it, because I want you to watch this one.
Go watch
it's a lot of fun. Any closing remarks on Leprechaun in the Hood?
Curious aroma.
When he first gets his taste of weed in it. And the movie ends in such a great way. It ends with Warwick Davis as a leprechaun.
The way the credits are played, like over the footage, that is so TV movie style, you know.
But he raps really good for being a little British guy. He does an entire rap called "Lep in the Hood come to do no good."
Lep in the Hood come to do no good.
What about that main guy that ends up working for the Leprechaun, and like he just comes out and sings like the same lines like over and over again for like 2 minutes, you know? It's like I did my best. They fucked my nest, but King of the world, yeah, that's me. I'm finally the man that I've been striving. I did my best. They fucked my nest, but I made it to the top. Put your fears to rest. King of the world, yeah, that's me. And he just sings that over and over again because the flute makes people like the music. Ice-T's character has been using it for years. That's how he got rich, which doesn't make any sense because we find out it doesn't work on recordings. So how has he made billions with the recording studio using the flute if the flute can't be recorded?
Yeah, that's odd.
And we never thought of that when we watched it, but yeah.
Man, that's a dumb way to explain it. They could have also explained it as, it worked through a recording, but you can't cut out the recording and put it over your own
Yeah, that
song,
would make sense, Yeah, something like maybe every album starts with that, But yeah, now we're going to move on to Roger's favorite Leprechaun movie. And I'm going to pass the hosting duties to him for this one. He's going to take over for this movie.
Leprechaun Back to the Hood, featuring you wish you were her boyfriend. Remember her?
Yeah, she was my favorite, man. She was hot. This is a Warwick movie, too.
Oh, yeah. This is the final Warwick movie, indeed. And I just love this one so much. It was so entertaining. This is the one where I remember most scenes from, I just remember the same location being used for way different scenes with way different tones, like 4 times. And like in a row, too.
What about the leprechaun in the tree? What was he doing in that
Right, the
tree?
leprechaun in the tree, the guy on a motorcycle, the scene where some guy is making a sandwich, and Leprechaun is just stoned behind him, dizzy and shit and falling, and he
gives a massage to somebody.
Massage, indeed. Like all those scenes I love so much. Or the cop, or my
God, the leg cop. Leg cop.
Or probably my absolute favorite scene, when Leprechaun is talking about his evil plan, and then this guy just grabs his phone and hold on 1 second, and he just calls his wife or something.
Leprechaun's just he can't believe it's happening. I picked the shot scene to be when he gives a massage, but we should have used the scene where Leprechaun picks up the phone, and that guy's wife starts talking to him like, "Who's this?"
Right. Oh man, I forgot about that. Indeed. Yeah. Now that you bring that up. Yeah.
Like, I think I look pretty good. I've got red hair and all this. She's like, "Ooh, you sound hot. How tall are you?" "I'm 3'6". 3'6", and the Leprechaun does a kill in this movie.
But after he says, "I'm 3'6", what else does he say then?
I can't. Oh yeah, but I make up for it in other.
Then she just hangs up on him.
One of the weirdest kills though is the pawn shop owner. That's a recurring thing in these movies though. By the way, the pawn shop owners. I left this out of Leprechaun in the Hood. I wanted to throw this in here because this one reminded me. In Leprechaun in the Hood, not Back to the Hood, the leprechaun changes into a woman to kill someone. Makes out with the guy full on. Remember that Leprechaun in the Hood?
Oh yeah.
Didn't make any sense. At least in Leprechaun Back to the Hood, even though it was, I'm gonna ask the director about this too. I'm gonna try to in a nice way because I think it was just a budget restraint. But those transitions, man.
Oh right.
That one really felt like a made-for-TV thing because it would do a transition, and then sometimes it would have the black screen for a commercial break.
It did.
Yeah, it did that a couple times. Like in between scenes, it'd be a half a second of black.
I must have missed that.
Sometimes it was during the transition. But you enjoyed the cop that got his leg cut off. Then we find out later in the movie that leprechauns used to be called Legergons. And I was like, oh, that cop lost his leg is gone, so it's a leprechaun. I get it. But the cop says something or the leprechaun says something in the cop car, and you got mad. It's like that. What is he, Freddy? What was that line?
Oh man, no, that was like a Crypt Keeper thing.
Oh, a Crypt Keeper. Kitties.
He said something with kitties, which is odd.
Then he drives to the scene and he gets out. They think a cop's getting out because they see the leg. Then it falls over. He was using this cop's leg to drive the police car.
Right.
But what really stands out for me, Roger, is the ending of this movie because it was pretty badass.
Oh yeah, I really like the burning leprechaun skull, and then of course, he comes back to life again, and then him falling. It does feel like an ending,
Yeah, like a goodbye because he even kind of like
as he's falling, he's like.
But here's where I got ticked off. The woman, the mystic woman, kind of has a battle with the leprechaun. Leprechaun keeps getting shot with bullets with clovers melted into him, 4-leaf clovers melted into him. And he keeps getting shot, and these little green balls keep coming out of the leprechaun like he's dying. And he sucks them back in every time. Like 6 times this happens. And it's
like Dr. Loomis. 6 times! I shot him 6 times!
Yeah, 6 times! I mean, how many times did they need to do it to kill him? It's like, he was definitely showing that but then, like, he's almost dead, and then and all the balls come back into him, I made a few ball jokes. They didn't end up getting used, but, yeah, it ends on a rooftop, and he falls down into wet See, the beginning of the Back to the Hood, we get introduced to the leprechaun, and he's like darker. He's got this cool duster, different hats, and it's kind of like New Nightmare Freddy, how they try to make him darker, which is cool. I appreciated that because it made him look really badass. But the movie starts with like this church. They're making a playground, and it's the construction's happening. The preacher gets killed by the leprechaun, so. I lost my train of thought for a second. The construction got discontinued. But by the end of the movie, they use some of their money to get the construction going again. So there's wet concrete down below this building, and the leprechaun falls into the wet concrete, which was pretty cool. And it ends with like his hand kind of going into the concrete, and that's it. And that's the last time we see Warwick Davis in the franchise. I'm having trouble remembering because they didn't use the necklace in this movie. But how did they end up getting his gold? Like, the preacher was able to... Oh, yeah, we got a Jason Goes to Hell scene at the beginning, remember? Yeah. The preacher calls on God, and, like, light shoots down, and these hands pull the leprechaun into the dirt. But he doesn't go to hell. He just goes in the basement of the building they're next to.
Just to wait for when the cameras start rolling.
Yeah, just hiding out down there. Oh, man, this has been fun. We can just stop here if you want to, because if we don't, we're going to have to talk about Leprechaun Origins.
Man, we got to continue the series, man.
Really? Oh, okay, Roger's making us. Leprechaun.
Afterwards, we get to Returns, which is also a good one.
Yeah. Leprechaun Origins. Movie sucked. Anyways, Leprechaun Returns was made for the Sci-Fi Channel, and... That's not going to be enough, is it? All right, Leprechaun Origins, guys. WWE and Lionsgate teamed up. They wanted to reboot the franchise of Leprechaun, but they wanted to make it a serious horror movie. That's right. Someone wanted to make a serious horror movie about a leprechaun that they really thought they could scare people with. So no more wisecracking leprechaun that even looks like what we would think a leprechaun looks like. Instead, we get like a little turd monster that doesn't talk. They even got a WWE wrestler, a little person wrestler, to play him, and he doesn't even talk or anything. You can't. And we get introduced to a cast of characters that you could give 2 shits for. The guy from Freddy vs. Jason, the one that gets Freddy's only kill in Freddy vs. Jason, that actor is in this movie. That's about it. But yeah, We get as when we first meet the characters, they're talking about college and stuff, and Roger's like, "Who cares?" Like, I don't care. Remember? And the guy takes a drink, and he's all like,
So it's not like Berkeley's going anywhere. Neither is history.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's talk about some origins, buddy. You're making us do it, so you talk about it.
I mean, there are so many. There are like jump scares in this, which made you jump, and you were right after you said
headphones. It was so loud. Ooh, it made me jump.
This movie makes you jump. You're bad. You're like, oh.
As soon as I said it, it got me.
It was like 1 minute after you said that. But yeah, it's not effective though, because usually when there's a jump scare, it should start like a chase scene or something, which the Nightmare on Elm Street movies do pretty well, and Friday the 13th and older slasher films like that. But it's just for like a quick scare, and then you'll laugh.
Yeah.
What is it supposed to be? Is the Leprechaun supposed to be a fucking joke now? You should be scared.
Yeah.
That's why jump scares just don't work in general. But of course, this is a modern horror movie, so they had to use jump scares.
There's only two cool things this movie has, and that's they try to trick the leprechaun and catch him, so they use their friend as bait. But the leprechaun outsmarts them, and they're like waiting for the leprechaun to come through this fireplace. They're going to hit him with an axe. The leprechaun throws their friend through it, so they end up killing their own friend. That was a cool scene.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the movie, a character says, "Fuck you, Lucky Charms," which is a throwback to what Jennifer Aniston's character said in the first Leprechaun movie.
Fuck you, Lucky Charms.
That's it. Two parts. We get a very cliche
design of the leprechaun.
Yeah, evil villagers cliche going on. Kind of like the Hewitt family from the Texas Chainsaw remake. Like the whole town is in on it. They're sacrificing people to this leprechaun. What else is there?
It just looks boring too. Like by color grading and all that stuff, it just looks boring. It's so gray.
And there's POV shots for the first half of the movie until you finally see the leprechaun. And the way a POV system works in a horror movie, it's to keep you from knowing who the killer is or what they look like. Kind of like in Friday the 13th Part 1 with Mrs. Voorhees. You never saw the killer. But once she was revealed, imagine this, okay? Imagine that at the end of Friday the 13th, throughout the whole movie, you've seen the POV shot, first person, as she's killed people, right? Then at the end of the movie, the whole fight scene with Alice, imagine after you get to see it's Mrs. Voorhees, you see her talk, she goes crazy in front of Alice and they start fighting, but then every scene is back to POV of her eyes. You don't see her no more. That's what they do. As soon as they reveal the leprechaun, they still use first person shitty POV shots for like the rest of the movie after the reveal. I think it's because they were embarrassed of what he looked like and didn't want to
like an orc. Like I don't know what the name was, but the guy with like the scars over his face from the Hobbit movies.
Oh, Gollum.
No, not Gollum. The more evil one from the Hobbit movies.
Oh, the Hobbit. Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah. I don't got the name either, but yeah.
The one without the hand. That it looked like that.
So Leprechaun Origins, in my opinion, is Little Turd Monster Origins.
Yeah.
And thankfully, this movie did not do good in the box office, did not do good on home video. And 2 years ago, Sci-Fi put together a sequel in the vein of Halloween 2018. What they wanted to do was make a direct sequel that ignores all the movies in the series except for the first one. And the movie is called Leprechaun Returns. They tried to get Warwick Davis for this, and he was interested, but he wants to wait till his kids are almost adults. He doesn't want to do horror movies while they're little. But they're getting older, so maybe if they make a sequel to this one, maybe he'll come back. Roger has an interesting idea for multiple leprechauns. Because I've always had a theory that each movie was a different leprechaun anyways that Warwick was playing, like it was a different leprechaun. That's the best way for it to make sense with all the inconsistencies, that they just all look like that. But his name is like Lupkin is the real name of the leprechaun. I have to find out where that came from, but that's officially his name. I think it might have been in the credits or something. And that's what his name was for each movie. So maybe is the same leprechaun. Regardless, they did something clever with how they explained how this leprechaun looks different, because it's not Warwick Davis in Leprechaun Returns. It's I don't know his name offhand, but he does a good job. And the movie starts with the daughter of Jennifer Aniston's character from the first Leprechaun movie. She's going to college. She's joined a sorority. And they're trying to, they're going to make their sorority house the same university. House. Oh, yeah, AU, Asshole University. I don't even know what the AU stands for. I forgot.
Asshole University.
Asshole University, yeah. Kat told us that she could go there. So those were your words, Kat. You said it. Hello.
Oh, yeah, you're an asshole, Kat.
Yeah, we're all assholes. Anyways... got me sidetracked there. They're going to set their sorority house is the house from the first Leprechaun movie, and she's needing a ride there, and she runs into who does she run into, Roger?
Ozzy
from the first movie in the same truck,
and he's gonna take her on the crazy train to Asshole University.
Bite the heads off of bats. Set the bats on fire. Set fire to the bats. We left out something really important on the first Leprechaun when we were talking about it earlier. Each movie has like a over-the-top kill that we kind of left out. That one was a pogo. The Leprechaun kills a pawn shop guy with the pogo stick in the original. But also in the original, when they find the gold, Ozzy bites it to see if it's real gold, and he ends up swallowing the coin in the first Leprechaun movie. And the reason the Leprechaun terrorizes them in the first one is because he's missing a coin, the coin that's inside of Ozzy. Well, in Leprechaun Returns, 23 years after the original, Ozzy still got that in his system. And when he takes this, Jennifer Aniston's character's daughter is trying to get to the sorority house, and she runs into Ozzy. She doesn't want it. He offers a ride. She doesn't want it. So she gets on Uber. And she calls the number it says to call, and his cell phone rings. So he ends up being her Uber regardless. And we get a cool scene with her talking about her mom, Ozzy remembering her mom and telling her stories about her. And apparently after Leprechaun, she went crazy. Jennifer Aniston's character went crazy. Spent her whole life talking about little monsters. Ended up in a mental institution, ended up taking her own life. But when they get there, Ozzy walks by the well where the leprechaun was killed in the first movie. They had shot him with a slingshot with the four-leaf clover in his mouth, fell in the well. He was like melting, and they redid the scene from the first movie with the four-leaf clover. Remember that? And,
oh, yeah.
Yeah, and they even had him melting, just like the leprechaun melted in the first one. But Ozzy walks by that well, and he hears a noise, and like water splashes out of it onto his face, and like he's like licking it off his lips and wiping it. And I was really hoping Ozzy would have survived because he was my favorite character, man.
It's sad to see him go.
The coin in his system and the water made it where the leprechaun was reborn through him. And the leprechaun looks a little different, and he sees his reflection. He like comes out of Ozzy's gut, and Ozzy dies. The new leprechaun puts on his hat, sees his reflection, says, I look a little better now. It's kind of explaining that because he was born through Ozzy, it changed his appearance. So they kind of touch on that.
Yeah, it's not too like in your face. It's not like, oh, I changed because I came out of him or something. It's
no, it's not like that. It's just kind of subtly hinted at.
Yeah.
We killed you 25 years ago. You're dead.
25 years? You're looking a little worse for wear, my boy. If you don't take care of your body. It won't take care of you. There once was a lad they thought died. His flesh had melted off his whole hide. But he escaped from the well alive and quite swell. And now he'll be killing in stride. 25 years then? I've got a lot of killing to make up for. When did I get better looking?
But he has this. I like how he's got the red hair that comes. The
Oh,
beard
yeah.
up. I did like that look because it's more leprechaun. Warwick never had that, but that was pretty cool. What did you think of this new guy taking on the role of the leprechaun?
And I really liked him. If they do another film, of course, I would rather have Warwick back. However, I feel like he did a great job, and I wouldn't mind seeing him again. I really wouldn't. Sorry?
I loved him at the end of the movie holding the sign.
Oh, right.
Ireland or bust or whatever.
And throughout the film, these people take selfies and photos and videos with and of the leprechaun. So my concept idea for a sequel to this would be, of course, how you're going to write this, I don't know. But the main idea is basically people find those photos and videos, and basically they would just want to know more and try to find the leprechaun, and they end up finding him and, of course, get killed by him. I think that would work pretty well as a sequel. Of course, more stretched out, instead of just randomly looking for them. But
And if Warwick could come back, maybe part of the leprechaun is still in the well. Somebody else, ends up getting that in them. And Warwick's version, we get like a Curse of Chucky going on with multiple leprechauns.
That would be fucking awesome.
Leprechaun versus Leprechaun. Warwick's versus the new one. That would be a cool movie. I'd watch that.
Or
and it's
Leprechaun Back to the Hood again, and then
Leprechaun
D
Native
is TH3.
Oh my god. Warwick always wanted to do a pirate Leprechaun movie.
Oh man.
Hundreds of years ago, and pirates still as gold, and it all takes place on a pirate ship.
That'd be so much fun.
But Leprechaun Returns, almost said Leprechaun Origins was fun. It sucked. Leprechaun Returns was a fun movie. We get to meet the whole cast. Of course, there's a guy that's sex crazed, a girl that keeps turning him down, but she really wants to, and she always ends up giving in. We get a really asshole girl that ends up like trying to get the main character killed later. They get some legitimate pizza delivered to them. That's the name of the company, Legitimate Pizza. They turn down the illegitimate pizza.
Which is, of course, pizza with pineapple.
Exactly. Anything with pineapple on it and mushrooms. Ugh.
Yep.
Sorry, whoever was it, Kat that got mad because we said mushrooms.
Kat.
Sorry.
That's why she belongs into the asshole university, man.
You like mushrooms? Yeah. What are you, a Mario brother? I'm not gonna say anyways. No. Leprechaun Returns has some really cool kills. A guy gets cut in half down like down the middle this way, like front.
Oh yeah.
Falls, and that's pretty cool.
Two of...
There's a guy with a drone the whole movie, and he ends up getting his neck cut with it, and all he had to do was move. Like the drone's coming at him real slow, and he's just like, ah! I love
and a leprechaun gets to fly on a drone, which that seems so funny.
He also pulls an army of darkness.
Oh yeah.
Because of a lot of little bitty leprechauns, and they're like singing, and he throws a hammer at a girl, and he's like, "Stop, hammer time!" You know.
Not cool. Stop, hammer time.
Does the MC Hammer dance? He was really good, but the main character realizes her mom wasn't crazy, so she gets to forgive her mom for all the years of ruining her life. The leprechaun recognizes that she looks like the Jennifer Aniston character that killed him the first time, and so it's kind of personal for the leprechaun. We get a funny scene like in Leprechaun in the Hood, where they're in the church and they're like, "All right, we're gonna run out of here, right," and then the leprechaun's sitting there and they scream. Everybody gets in a car and they're like, "We gotta go! I think he's still back there. Are we gonna get away?" Then, like in the back seat and in between two of the characters, the leprechaun's like, "Yeah, I don't think he's gonna catch us."
We should get out of here. He's probably really close by now.
He's in the car with him.
Yeah, the humor kind of reminded me of like modern blockbuster movies, like Marvel or some stuff like that. Yeah, which I don't mind, man.
He does a fun scene in a field with like the sprinklers. He tells a girl that if she helps him, he won't lay a hand on her. So the girl traps the main character in the house to get killed. Ozzy's ghost shows up and helps her. And there's some funny stuff there. I'm not going to go into all of it. You need to see it. But the leprechaun promised the girl he wouldn't lay a hand on her. So he kills her with sprinklers. And he's like an orchestra, sitting there doing, like there's music playing and this sprinkler's pot blowing up and they're hitting her, water spraying everywhere.
Yeah, man, that was fun.
That was
that scene and the scene like when she's calling the Uber and Leprechaun on the drone, all those funny scenes. I can just imagine seeing in theater and like the whole crowd laughing,
Oh, and we get a really good Jennifer Aniston sound alike. Like I really thought it really sounded like Jennifer Aniston.
I don't want anything from you. Are you sure? Do what he says, sweetheart. Mom? I told you, all this is real. You have to believe me when I tell you that if you let him go, you could wish me back.
The leprechaun changes his voice to talk to the main character, and he uses the mom's voice. And it sounded just like Jennifer Aniston. The plot of this movie is he wants his gold back, but the main girl that was building the sorority house has been selling the gold. She found the gold and has been selling it to finance building the house. So yeah, it's a weak plot. It's still gimme me gold, but that's what Leprechaun's all about. His gold. And if this is the final movie that we ever get, they went out on a high note.
Oh yeah.
Because it was still better than Leprechaun. It was better than the original. It was better than way better than Leprechaun Origins. It was even better than Leprechaun in Space.
Yeah, I would say so.
It is set up for a sequel because you think it looks like he's dead, but at the end he's formed again. We get a few funny lines like they're injured and they're trying, and like this guy shows up, a cop shows up. He's like, "What's going on here?" And they're like, "We just want to get out of here." And they start walking away, and like it's dramatic music building up, and then they look at each other and go, "We should probably ride with that guy," and they turn around.
Right.
There's
Like those sort of scenes, I could imagine totally being in theater, and it's a shame that it never got a theatrical release. But I can just imagine like people. Yeah, but I can imagine people laughing at those sort of scenes.
It's one of the best sci-fi movies I've ever seen. They did a sci-fi channel movie, is what I mean. You said Hobbit. It's funny. The main character even says, "Fuck you, ass Baggins." Baggins from the Hobbit and stuff.
Right. Right.
But yeah, man, Leprechaun the franchise. If I had to rate this thing on like the whole series together, like for what it is, if I was rating it as just in horror movies in general, it wouldn't have as high as a score. But as far as B-movie horror movies go, franchises, I think this is one of the best B horror franchises ever. And on a scale of like A through F, I would give it a B plus and that's my score for the entire franchise. What would you give it?
I don't know, maybe a C plus or a B minus. I think around.
Origins brings it down for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Origins shouldn't even really be a part of it, but it is. The box sets have it, but it really. You could watch this franchise and skip Origins. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah, because it's not even a Leprechaun.
You shouldn't because we didn't get to. But if you want to, you can skip Origins and watch Leprechaun, Leprechaun 2, Leprechaun 3, Leprechaun in Space, Leprechaun in the Hood, Leprechaun Back to the Hood, and Leprechaun Returns. Or if you want to go for what they were going for, and they retconned 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, you could really enjoy it just watching Leprechaun and Leprechaun Returns.
Oh, yeah.
Without even watching the in-between movies. Because Leprechaun Returns is a true sequel.
Now that you mentioned all the movies, I'm really curious about your ranking, man.
Oh, okay. My ranking for the Leprechaun movies is going to be a bit shocking, I think, for Mr. Rogers.
Okay.
Worst one, Leprechaun Origins.
Really?
That's the worst one.
Dude.
So I'm going to start now from the best, but I'm just letting you all know Leprechaun Origins is at the bottom. You're not going to see it pop up somewhere in the middle. That's not the shock. That's not going to happen. So, my favorite Leprechaun movie, drum roll, Leprechaun in the Hood. It's always going to be my favorite. It was my introduction to the series. Leprechaun in the Hood. Loved it. Now, here's the shocking part that you're not going to believe. My second favorite is Leprechaun Returns.
Wow, man.
Yeah.
It didn't even have Warwick.
I know, but it entertained me. Some of the other movies have things that are kind of like, that's stupid, or what were they going for? It's too cheesy. But this movie was fan service. It was very respectful to the series, and it was funny, fun, never was bored. I never went, that's way too cheesy. It did its job. I really enjoyed it. The next one would be Leprechaun Back to the Hood, number 3. It's not as fun as Lep in the Hood, but it's still, like Roger said, it is a really fun movie. I really enjoyed it. Number 4 would be Leprechaun 3. I enjoy the whole Vegas setting. I love Fazio.
The duck kill.
The duck woman. So yeah. So what are we on? 5 now on my list. Lep in the Hood, Leprechaun Returns, Leprechaun Back to the Hood, Leprechaun 3.
3.
So number 5 is Leprechaun
Or
in Space.
okay, guessed it.
Leprechaun in Space, yes, part 4. So next on my list, number 6 is Leprechaun the Original.
Oh, okay. That one is good.
Leprechaun 2 is in number 7, right above Leprechaun Origins, because of the abrupt ending. The whole sneeze thing is just not a good plot, you know.
Dude, I think our last 3 are exactly the same.
Really.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you this, I'm not pissing on Leprechaun 2 or Leprechaun 1. The reason Leprechaun 1 is kind of low on my rank is because it after you've seen the other ones, it's kind of boring and dull compared to them. And Leprechaun 2 is, you would think I would make it better because it has more stuff in it, but it seems rushed, and the sneeze thing throws me off, and the ending throws me off. But Leprechaun Origins is actually like 1,000 miles away from Leprechaun 2. Even though they're like right above each other on my rank, Leprechaun Origins is way below how I feel about Leprechaun 2. So yeah, for a recap, my favorite Leprechaun movie is Lep in the Hood. My second favorite, Leprechaun Returns. That was the shocker.
Yeah, man, I did not expect that.
Leprechaun Back to the Hood was number 3. Do you remember what my number 4 was?
Yeah, Leprechaun 3.
Yeah. Number 5?
Leprechaun 4 in Space.
Space. And then the original Leprechaun and Leprechaun 2.
2.
And then bottoming out is Leprechaun Origins. So I look forward to seeing your ranking, man. But I'll put a link to his ranking in the description of the podcast here if you haven't.
Yeah, go check it out. See how our rankings differ.
And check out his merch store, guys. He's got some really cool designs on his merch. And he's going to help me get some better designs on my merch store. Yeah, I love the pillow, man. I would want a black one, though, but with white letters.
Yeah, like the same design, though. But like the I love it. Oh, man. I would have to change the paper color as well from the image, though.
I got pets, so white is just not a good idea.
Oh, right.
Yeah, man, thanks. I enjoy. I think this Scratching the Niche is going to be a fun thing to discuss.
Yeah, definitely.
Movie series. Some episodes will probably be shorter if we're just discussing like a one or two
movie
franchise. But yeah, I had a blast, and I hope everybody watching has enjoyed it. Is there anything you want to plug or talk about before we have a close to the party?
No, you already mentioned it. Besides that, I would say join the Facebook group. If you actually want to get some merch for free, possibly, once I hit 100 members on my Facebook group, I'll be doing a giveaway. So that's facebook.com/groups/SlasherPepper. Lots of slashes in there. But we like that as horror fans, so.
Everything's slash.
Yep. And yeah, check out my ranking because it's on the channel now, and you can see how our rankings differ.
Awesome. Was there anything about mine that you just totally are like, dude, that's stupid?
About your ranking?
Yeah.
No. The Leprechaun Returns surprised me though that it was that high.
But was my reason a good reason?
Yeah. It could kind of be my number 2, I guess.
I struggled with that, though. I'll tell you that. I struggled putting it up there because it didn't have Warwick.
Right.
But I had to be honest as a fan and a movie.
Yeah, man, it's with these rankings, it's so hard. Like just like a month ago or something, I ranked the Motorhead albums, and like Ace of Spades is the classic, and it's like my number 8. Well, probably 90% of the people would put it at number 1.
You got it. You just got to be honest about how how entertained you are about something.
Yeah.
Yeah. After we do the Hellraiser drinking games, if we ever do an episode on that,
oh yeah,
we'll have to streamline the episode or split it into 2 Scratching the Niche episodes because that's 10 movies. I think people will be shocked about my ranking on that too. Yeah, guys, this has been episode 1 of Scratching the Niche. Hope you've enjoyed it. And if you guys have a film, like a niche horror franchise you would like to see us talk about, or a niche movie that you would like us to talk about, something that's not really popular, doesn't get discussed a lot, let us know in the comments section, and we'll, look into doing an episode on that. And maybe we'll put a poll out with a few options you guys can vote on, stuff like that. Be sure to check out SlasherPepper. I'll put some links in the description. Check out my Patreon, guys, because my channel, I depend on you guys on Patreon to keep the channel going. I'll never be able to monetize the channel due to the copyright stuff that they get on my ad revenue. The merch store, we're going to have some new merch there pretty soon, so keep an eye on that. Roger's going to help design some of that. There's going to be a really cool I Am a Slashaholic design that I think you guys are going to like. And in closing, this has been your friendly neighborhood 80s slasher librarian saying, thanks for listening, be excellent to each other, and as always, pleasant dreams. You want to say bye?
Pleasant dreams.
Fuck you, Roger. Everybody have a good night. Roger,
This old Lep, he played one. He played pogo on his lump.
Say, aren't we a little young to be out this late?
No, I'm 600 years old.
Okay, smartass.
Drink what you want. Drink what you're able. If you're drinking with me, you'll be under the table.
Come on, let's cheer him on. He's one of us. 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 One of us.
Give him another sedative, damn it. Now listen to me. This may mean the difference between living and dying. Do you have health insurance?
Do you take Green Cross?
With Fuzzio the Great, we've had a good laugh. Shall I start up this saw and cut him in half? Yea or nay?
Yes, 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 no. Yes, yes, no, no, no.
You've had your wish. Now I'll have mine.
Caesar's Palace.
Hold it right there, Pilgrim. I'm not gonna hurt ya. Nah, I'm not gonna hurt ya. The hell I'm not.
Meredith 1, all of you assholes 0.
I wouldn't lay a hand on you. I didn't say I wouldn't kill you. Now she's one with nature.
You're pissing me off, Roger.